Loud and clear.
All right. Good to go, Robbie?
Yeah, let me see.
I may end up
Okay.
doing like this. I might do it for Nelly. I don't hear what he's saying.
You're good.
Right. Okay, cool. All right, Nelly. Here we are, man.
Well, good morning. Looks like a great day.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day here in Texas. No, we're not far away, bud.
That's true. That's true. Well, appreciate the invite to come join you.
Yeah, I'm going to give a brief introduction to this, and then I want you to take over. I met Doug when I first moved to Austin. It was in the first probably 6 months of moving to Austin, and I worked at the one of the places I worked at was the Harvey Penick Golf Academy. And Nelly, as I learned, you start meeting people and so forth, and he was just he would never say it, and I don't want to wear it out, but he was a local legend in my opinion. Like everybody talked about Nelly, he was a very good player, very 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 good player. He's an extremely a great teacher, and he's a guy that was a lot like I think the guys would say around here. I show up in blue jeans and t-shirts all the time, and some people probably don't even know how to play golf because I like to do things out on the back end of the course and things like that. I would say Nelly was the kind of same thing. And just to me, I saw him as somebody. Well, one, I had a tremendous amount of respect for him, but he was the kind of guy that show up in blue jeans and he'd wear you out if you give him a golf club and a golf ball. And but so I got to meet Nelly there with Jeff Morgan. Jeff Morgan's a great guy, and there was a lot of other ones as well that we had on staff that was amazing to me. I'd never been around Harvey Penick, the lineage, I should say, and also the education part of it. And when I was able to teach, when they hired me to teach at the Harvey Penick Golf Academy, I was enlightened, so to speak, with the simplicity but the effectiveness of what he did. And I know you're a protege, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for anybody like a Chuck Cook and yourself, and anybody that had that background training with Mr. Penick. But with that being said, we have the original Nelly. This is the original OG Nelly, and that's his nickname before Nelly was probably born. But Doug, Nelly, we're so thankful to have you on the show. And if you will, just fire away with where you want to go with your golf journey, and let us know.
Well, thanks again, Matt. I appreciate the opportunity. I often tell people that I was simply in the right place at the right time in the Austin area. Born and raised in Austin, played traditional sports as a lot of us did, mainly baseball, football, and the Pop Warner leagues, stuff like that. And fast forward to past, typical grade school into high school, or just prior to high school, I was introduced to golf simply at a playground and a 6-iron, and it kind of got my attention. I thought, wow, that's of interest. My football coach at Reagan had indicated that because of my small size, that I may have a chance to not sit on the bench if I was kicking or playing a wide out position, which I wasn't the fastest person around, but I could kick the ball. Did win the punt, pass, and kick competition one time. I thought, I was, going to the pros, but unfortunately, I was matched up against a gentleman by the name of Dan Hale, and he ended up being a All-American at Texas Tech. And believe me, he could really punt that ball. So I can see my football career kind of dwindling. My mom had put me on a wheat germ program to try to gain weight, and I tell everybody that it worked, but it didn't kick in for about 30 years. So anyway, I started playing golf in ninth grade, and at that time they put everybody on the team. Thank goodness at Reagan. Went 1 year to Reagan, and then they built LBJ, and that's where I graduated in LBJ. Now, during the years at LBJ, we uh, somehow, with God's grace, uh, we had a tremendous golf team, and we just about won everything in sight. And the funny thing is, in the state tournament, which was held here locally at Morris Williams at that time, and ironically was the home golf course for the University of Texas golf team. A gentleman, when I walked off the last green at the state tournament, he indicated to me, he said, after you sign your scorecard, Coach Hannon would like to visit with you in his office. And I said, okay. And I thought, oh gosh, what did I do wrong? And so signed my scorecard and walked into Coach's office. And he flips this envelope to me and he goes, I think you've been wanting to come to this university for a long time. And I said, golly. He goes, well, go home and show that to your parents and let's see what they think. You know? So again, in the right place at the right time, signed on with Texas. I didn't hesitate, by the way. uh, and so one side note to that, well, I didn't realize at the time. Now, keep in mind to the listeners that this was the Southwest Conference days, not the Big 12, and I didn't know this, but Coach Williams, Dave Williams at Houston, had been calling my mom and talking to her about me coming down there, and so I thought that was kind of funny. He didn't really want to say much to me. He wanted to try to get some leverage through my parents, I guess. But anyway, that was good times at that stage. I didn't know what I had entered. Seeing all the names at Texas, when I was a freshman, Phil Blackmar, John Chafee, Dale Blackburn, all these guys were seniors, and very nice, by the way, to me, being the new person on the block here. They took me by the wing and made me feel most comfortable on and off campus there at Texas. So anyway, that's the beginning, I guess, of the golfing stories in regard to how I got started. Now, as you well know, I guess it was probably my junior year in high school. Coach Hannon had mentioned about me going to see Harvey Penick for a golf lesson. Now, to this point, I hadn't had really, some side mentors maybe that weren't necessarily instructors, but helpful, keeping me up.
Pretty much self-taught, would you say, at that particular time? Did you pretty much just hit it?
Yeah, and just observing others, I guess. And of course, that was way before the social media, and I remember some of the instructors that were at Morris Williams used the old what you call it, the 8-frame cameras, the Polaroid.
Yep.
And they would pull that Polaroid out and kind of draw on it and make suggestions on maybe better positioning of the golf club, that kind of thing. But anyway, Coach Hannon, he said, why don't you go take a lesson with Harvey Penick? And now, growing up around the munis here in Austin, I didn't know who Harvey Penick was. And so we looked it up and found out, oh my gosh, it's at the Austin Country Club, the old original location, I guess you'd call it, at Riverside. And I wasn't driving yet, so Dad drove me down. He stayed in the truck out in the parking lot. I remember he put some money in my pocket. I don't remember how much, but to go take this lesson. And I went down to the pro shop, and the assistant, I don't know why I remember his name, but Mike Massey, he said, well, go up to the range and he'll be up there in a minute. So went up, and the next thing you know, here comes this golf cart driving up on the tee box with this man in it. And of course, as a lot of people know, he was kind of down in the back. I'm told from an injury that he sustained chasing somebody out of a cart barn or something way back. But anyway, he drives up, introduces himself, and he proceeded to look at my golf grip and watched me hit a few, and made a little change on the grip. Watched me hit a few more. I may have hit maybe 10 or 12 balls. And he said, well, how's that feel? And I said, it feels really good, Harvey. I appreciate that. And he goes, well, come back and see me. And and this was a,
Last part.
what's that?
Could you repeat that last part? I missed
Yeah,
it.
he said, well, come back and see me. And he turned and drove off. And I thought, well, that lesson didn't last very long. I hit maybe 10 balls, and so I finished the balls that I had. I walked back down to the pro shop, and I told the assistant there, I said, well, hey, I finished my lesson with Harvey. He drove off, didn't ask for any money or anything. And the assistant pro said, well, he doesn't charge juniors, so anyway, and I did give my dad my money back, by the way. So, but that's where that started. And I had several lessons over time. And I think some of the interesting things that happened was, number one, I didn't know it at the time, but somebody had called it to my attention that he said, did you notice that Harvey, when you hit a golf ball, he never did look up to see where the ball went? And I said, no, I didn't realize that at all. And of course, the next time out, I had to check that out. I would hit a ball and kind of glance over at Harvey just to see what he was looking at. And he's looking at me, and he wasn't even looking at the golf ball, where he had gone. So I thought that was that's knowing the golf swing and knowing quite a bit, not to have to look at the golf ball. But he often told me, he said, I don't want you hitting practice balls with the if it's a pretty good wind blowing, try not to position yourself to hit golf balls with the wind hitting you in the back in regard to balance. And so many times he would ask me to get in the cart with him. We'd go to the opposite side of the range and hit it, back up the other side of the range, just to get me out of that. In regards to the wind, hit me in the back. So I thought that was kind of interesting thing. Now, fast forward today, as commercialized as driving ranges are, we don't usually have that much leverage to reposition ourselves on the range, maybe at slight angles, but I thought that was kind of interesting. And you and many other very successful teachers seem to always revert back to how important balance is and footwork, stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of a neat thing. But one more, I guess, from a playing standpoint, we would go out and play after our golf lessons, and mainly off of his suggestion. He always wanted us to go play, and he would never do anything in regard to changing our setup or grip in which we wouldn't be able to go to the golf course and play. Now, on one occasion, we were on the putting green waiting for our tee time to be called, and the pro shop had very dark windows in it. You couldn't see into the shop, but you could obviously see outside. And there was 4 of us going to play, and we were putting. You know how you drop a sleeve of 3 balls and go putt for a minute, and then when it's time, you rake them up and go to the first tee. Well, we did that and walked over, and we're waiting for the group in front of us to clear. And you feel this person, I felt this person come up from behind me, and I looked back over my shoulder, and it was Harvey. And he said, you boys, of course we're, what, 15, 16? He said, you boys want to, when you go to the putting green like that, even if you have to move up fairly close to the hole, watch a few go in the hole as a visual, pick them up, and then go on to the first tee. That'll give you a lot of confidence. And I said, oh gosh, that's great, Harvey. I appreciate that tip. Now, I didn't realize this until we were about halfway down the fairway, that he had been watching us, I guess, through that dark window of that pro shop, and just kind of came on out to the first tee to watch us, I guess, hit that first ball. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. Make the hair on the back of your neck stand up sometimes.
That's really cool. I mean, like I said, when Austin, Texas, and you're a golfer, or somebody like myself, Doug, I know you still coach, teach golf, and it was funny. I got to give a shout out to my little nephew. He sent me a deal last night. He said, "When are you going to have another golf instructor?" And I said, "I've got that guy coming on tomorrow." So I guess I'm not doing my job. So, but his name's Connor. He lives in Northwest Arkansas. He's a wonderful kid, and he needs to tell his sister to give me a call as well. But
Oh, man.
anyway,
Well,
he wanted to know when I was going to have another golf instructor on. Well, here we go.
well, and again, golly, here we are with some of the greatest technology ever, where we can all link together as one. And in this case, share some stories and looking back on some of your really, really good podcast with Coach Paris and of course Wes and David. I mean, golly, I've thought about this quite a bit. Ever since we've talked, and the common seems to be a passion. When I watch you and I listen to David and of course Wes, those guys, the players that are still playing and stuff like that. Nothing but passion, And then even when you cross sports, like the hockey with Coach Paris, I could sit there and listen to that man for hours and just like, golly, it's just such common language.
Like, can't get enough. I'm sorry to cut you off, but he's so fired up still to this day. 65 years old. I didn't think he wouldn't. I'm like you. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I just many things have changed in regard to the approach with teaching, obviously, and that's why I like to follow you here on Elite Golf Performance and listen in and see how we can all do it better. Now, obviously, fast forward. In 1980, I may get the years off a little bit. In 81, 82, decided I was going to try the tour school, and for 2 years in a row, and a couple of our newest members at Great Hills at this time is where I was, and that was Carl and Frank Paul, and of course Carl's wife Barbara, and a lot of you. What's that?
Barbara?
Yes, Barbara.
Barbara.
Yeah, Barbara Paul. That was Carl's wife. Yeah.
Okay.
And so anyway, they were the founders, obviously, of Golfsmith, and I had fortunately the pro I was working for was extremely supportive of me continuing to try to play and figure out what I wanted to do. He eventually got me to join the PGA, and I thought, golly, having Mondays off and you could go play in the section events, that kind of stuff was pretty cool, and try to maintain a decent game. Well, just again, kind of fast forward here just a bit. I had come home from playing some mini tour golf down in Florida, the JC Goosey's tour, if I remember right. And it was right before Christmas, and I went to the club to report back to the pro there, Will Stevens at the time, and so anyway, I, in passing, had talked to Carl, the older of the two brothers, the Paul brothers, and he just kind of in casual mention to me. He goes, "Hey, if you want to come over and during your time off of playing and winter months, whatever, help us answer the phone. We'd love to have you come over. We have a driving range over on Kramer Lane. If you want to do a little teaching over there, that's great." And so I thought about it, and long story short, decided to join on, with Golfsmith around that time period. I believe this was in '84. Wow. And so it was kind of funny because I'd known them as members, but I didn't know them as a business person. And I'll never forget going into a kind of an informal interview back when they had the old warehouse there.
Yeah.
And Carl set me down. He goes, "Well, we hire people that basically love to be around golf, you know." And I thought, well, that's great. You know, that's I love the game, you know. But he had a piece of paper on his desk, and it had a paper clip attached. And he goes, "I'm going to show you just real simply how I run my business." He said, "I don't mind you throwing that piece of paper away if you have to, but if that paper clip is still attached to that paper, I'll fire you on the spot." And so I thought that was a pretty good indicator as to how they run that business. And I think anybody that spent time with the Pauls there would understand exactly that. Great family, great business. Unfortunately, now fast forward, it's
May have froze there. It's probably messing around.
but anyway, during that venture, I say we, there was a team of uh,
Hey, Nelly, we may have lost you there, buddy. Let's see if I can get on this end. We may have lost Nelly there for a little bit. He'll probably get it going on his end and so forth. We won't continue that, obviously. If we have to start back up, we will. Moving forward with, and when Nelly gets back on, we'll let him come back in and continue his story. Uh-oh, maybe I lost him.
What's up, man?
Hey, some reason the thing cut off, so I was just I didn't know how to get him. I mean, it's shut down as far as that. Is there a way to
What cut off?
the video? Everything cut off. I mean, it just shut down. I think it froze on his end. It cut off on his end. So I was gonna see if there's a way how to get him back on as far as to kind of finish up.
Yeah, let me see. I'm gonna go on and see if you're still on.
Okay, yeah, just I tried to stop the video and so forth, but yeah, just whatever you want to check, and then I'll yeah, Doug sent me a message here. So you know, if I don't know how you want to do it, but I just want to try to get him back on if we can.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm coming over.
Okay, cool. I'll see you in a minute. power it up. Yeah, it just went, I don't know, it was on, I think it was on his end where it froze.
Video. There you go. Should be back.
All right, we are back. Yeah.
Hey, Nelly.
Yes, indeed. All right, can you hear me?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear him. Can you hear?
I can move up. That's because of the tractor right there. Hey, I got you, Nelly.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. We're good.
Okay, great. Okay.
That's good.
Well,
So
so
we
if,
connection
go ahead.
somehow.
Go right ahead.
Hey, I'll just kind of let you talk where you kind of go on where you kind of. I think we were. I'm not sure exactly. I think we're around where Harvey. We're talking a little bit about Harvey from watching him from the shop, and I don't know where we're cut in and out right there.
Yeah. So where we left off, I believe, was within the Golfsmith time period.
Oh yeah.
1984 is when I started there, and then fast forward, I know the Pauls were hoping to complement some of the component golf club line with a golf school, and at that time, it was our understanding through Tinsley Penick that Harvey had always taught individual lessons, and he was a little bit concerned about having large groups being taught, or clinics, if you will, golf schools, and hopefully keeping all of the instructors on the same page in regard to his teachings through the Little Red Book and so forth. And so this meeting, like I said, was about 8, 9, 10 of us, I guess, in the room, and we were wanting to talk a little bit about the golf swing, and I remember, I believe Carl or Frank Paul said to me, he said, "Well, Doug, you've taken lessons with Harvey. How about you stand up and walk over here?" Harvey at that time, obviously, as many people knew, he was in a wheelchair at that time, but walked over, and they wanted to talk about the grip. Now, to preface this, I hadn't seen Harvey face to face in probably over 10 years. And so I walked over, I had a golf club in my hand, placed my hands on, and he looks down at my grip, and he looks up at me and he goes, "Well, I remember you." And so I thought that was kind of an odd, interesting, kind of scary thing. It's like, wow, he remembers me more through my golf grip than anything else, I guess. So having seen thousands and thousands of his students, I thought that was pretty impressive. But anyway, that, as you well know, being involved in it, we assembled, I think, one of the best staffs around at that time. Everybody was on board about staying with Harvey's teachings, and even though we had very large schools at times, you didn't have to really even think about or worry about somebody not teaching the best they could along Harvey's teachings as well. And so met many great people, great instructors such as yourself. The Brian Gathrights, the Larry Goswers, the Clement brothers, golly, the list goes on and on. I mean, I think at one time we had 15 or 16 pros on staff. And I have to tell you, gosh, kudos to everybody, because we'd all kind of eavesdrop on each other's teachings. And if we were the one doing the presentation, we'd stand aside and listen. And I think that's maybe how we all got better at how to convey uh, what we had to say about the golf swing and the setup and the drills and whatnot in the simplest words and simplest language. It's very very difficult. And when I see you out there teaching, it's even more difficult now. I think because technology has brought us to gosh, levels above what we had back in the 80s and 90s in regard to what we know now versus back then. I mean, the teachings were great, but from a physical standpoint, wow, so much different. And for someone like yourself to understand, what happens from the ground up with the body movements and complementing what we call a golf swing. Uh, it seems I kind of laugh at it, but the golf swing looks better when somebody is in better control of their body, you know. So,
You know, and
but
I don't think you were talking about footwork earlier, and that's still something that I think is I shouldn't say a lost art, but it's you when you watch the players of our generation and so forth, we had good knee and footwork. We had flow, and you see more of this rigid stiffness. I think a little bit more
mhm.
now with junior golfers where they kind of snap their the lower back and snap their knees back and things like that. And when we were really playing and the generation that was playing, when we watched the observation, like you said, there was more flow to the knees, and then it was more flow. To me, there was more of the ground up swing, and it had a more like a whether you take Ben Hogan, Byron Nelson, all those great, unbelievable Sam Snead, they had beautiful footwork. Lee Trevino, they didn't really get stuck and just hammer the club, and you can do that obviously, but they had the beautiful like flow to it, silkiness.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think being able to, like I said, I think you're the perfect role model to see how, as an instructor, you just kind of move with the flow and change with the flow, and continue to help these students and help them, especially the ones that really want to play at a higher level. They can really connect, with what you're saying, and being able to develop a game that will hold up under pressure, because obviously it's much different on the golf course than it is on the driving range.
It is one of the things when I moved to Texas, I was fortunate enough to work around Chuck Cook, and with the ability of being able to work around Chuck, I was able to meet Tom Kite and work with Tom Kite and his son David Kite, played at South Carolina, and but hearing the stories, and then Barbara Pruitt, I got to meet you. I'm sure you know Barbara Pruitt, really a good player, good teacher, great teacher. But hear all these Harvey, it's Harvey story. We call them Harveyisms when you're in Austin. You have the Harveyisms, and then you have he's just I don't want to go too far with it, but you can't if you live in Austin talking about Harvey Penick. It's just he was such. I wish I could have met him, personally, but I just didn't have that. I didn't live here. But he, to me, is still his work has carried on. His stuff is legit right now and will hold up at the highest stage of any tournament, any world champion, if you've got a major championship, his body of work holds up to this day.
Absolutely. And to the players out there, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, when you find your instructor, such as Matt, and he is fully vested in helping you with your game and taking you to whatever level that you desire. Uh, you don't have to hunt elsewhere, because I've seen many players, they get, well, gosh, is it really that simple? Well, it sounds that simple because they're using simple language to convey something. The golf swing is very complicated, and if you can take it down to where the players can better follow you and understand what you're trying to tell them, then obviously they will succeed. There's no doubt about that. I think that's life in general. If we understand something, obviously we have most confidence in it. And so I know you've experienced that, with your students. It's like there's a connect, and many times you don't have to worry about them wandering off. They know what to do. But like I say, to those that are listening, you don't have to go elsewhere to try to make it any more complicated. to play better golf. That's not the idea. Is to make it simple, make it fun, and you'll know when to call up that instructor. When you're struggling and you've checked what you know how to check on that driving range, you will know when to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Matt, I'm lost. I need to come see you."
Yeah, we've all been there. One of the things I didn't tell the story, and I'll tell it. I don't know if I've ever said this on the video, but I don't care because it helped me so much. It was a little bit of a, we all get, you always. I don't think there's anybody watching this at some point they didn't have a boss that sat them down and said, "Hey, you can do this a little bit better than what you're doing." And I did. I had Chuck Cook. When I was really starting to teach when I moved to Texas. I really got into this biomechanics stuff, and it was from a personal reason because I really got a bad lower back injury. It was self-inflicted from hitting golf balls the wrong way, probably too many, but definitely doing some just stupid biomechanical movement patterns. I had a great mentor, Chris Welch, changed my entire business, changed my philosophy as far as the way I looked at the body. I kind of knew how to do what, obviously, if you play golf, like, when you play pretty high level, you know what to do with the club, but sometimes we didn't know back then what to do really with the body, and I should say I did not, and I hurt myself by not understanding that. But so then I went kind of just crazy into this biomechanics world and talked the language, and it was really complex and it sounded weird, and most people didn't know the language, which would be normal. And Luke set me down and said, "Matt, you're in Texas, man. You know your stuff. I'm not telling you don't know what you're talking about, but you're talking a language that's not familiar with these people. They're smart people. Has nothing to do with that. They're just don't. You're talking in a language that might as well be talking Chinese. It's not the same thing. And
Right.
you need to simplify the equation because around here, simple works. It's Harvey Penick, simple but effective, efficient. I tried to say that last night when I was demonstrating was you can be simple and not effective, and then you can be simple and efficient. And Harvey Penick had all those, and all you have to do is look at his record with his players. And, oh my gosh, it's just champion after champion, whether it be a club champion. It may be, I think ACC had they still have it, but it was, I believe, the lowest handicap in the country at one point, if I'm not mistaken. It was that was what I'd heard. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, from Harvey made it simple, but it was the stuff he was saying was very. It was like he was taking this big complex equation, and going, "Hey, this is how you do it. This is how you can make it work." And just all you got to do is this, and it's like, oh, that's a lot easier than doing 55 things or 60 things and having a check.
That's a great point. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Certainly settled me down as in it, and it kind of hurt at first because I was really like in that mode of wanting to try to be maybe a little bit different, probably from a marketing. I was younger, and you're trying to set your own path and create. Then all of a sudden you realize, hey, you ain't got to do anything. You don't really have. If you follow the path of these mentors like a Harvey Penick and a Chuck Cook, and or players like a Tom Kite or a Frosty or a Wes Shorten, you kind of follow. There's a lineage that goes from here up, and if you try to get over on top of that, you're just gonna fall off the sides of the cliff, in my opinion. And if you just follow their lead and watch and learn and listen first, they can really help you.
Well, that's an excellent point. I mean, you're spot on because, I have found myself trying to say a little bit less because we want to help the players so much. Sometimes it's kind of like, well, maybe we do need to kind of step back and observe a little bit more and listen maybe a little bit more instead of stepping in there every time they hit a golf shot. I think that kind of comes to the passion part of it. We want so bad to see somebody succeed. We can feel it, and it's just like I said. Sometimes it's we have to kind of step back and enjoy watching them enjoy the game, and say, hey, you know what? Sometimes silence is golden, when it comes to watching somebody, when they're practicing or during a golf lesson.
Yeah, and Harvey was known. I know you and I talked about this, and of course, it's also known if you've been around Austin, and not everybody has. We have golfers from a lot of different places, but just hearing all the stories, Harvey would maybe just suggest something to a player, like you've already talked about it already. He did it with you. Like you might suggest Yeah, it might be that you're hitting too big of a draw. Hey, you might want to consider working on a cut this week, you know, and he might turn around, face off, and go back his direction. And I don't want to make it sound like that's what he did, because it's not. There's more to it than that. But he would, if depending on the level of player, and he really thought that was the right advice, he would not sit there and babysit you and hold your hand. From what I'd gathered, he would just, it's your turn now. I gave you what you need to do. Do you want to do it or not? Now, and he didn't say that. He just would walk away.
Oh, that's absolutely him. That was definitely him. Give you the some tools to work with, and I think the best compliment to his help, from the practice tee perspective, was when you stayed out. Once he drove off, if you stayed there and worked on what he had just shared with you, and not just instantly pick up your bag and walk off. I mean, the lesson really wasn't over just because Harvey had left the tee. So, and I'm sure it excites you like anybody else to see your student out there chipping and putting and hitting some golf balls, and checking their alignment, doing the things they know, and the things they can control even when you're not around.
Yeah, it's that it is. I mean, it's like Coach Paris said a couple of days ago. We kind of live. As you're a coach, you want so much when you, like, if I go out and I've been developing a junior, and I watch them go play an event, and there's a certain point I really don't want to, and I don't want to sound bad here, but I don't need to watch them really play an event until they develop a little bit. They got to put in their time, and then there's a certain point. Like, I don't care if they shoot 85 or 90. Doesn't bother me at all. It's just they need to put in a little time, and then it's okay. Let me go out and see if we can. Let me go watch it, because it's going to help me. And it does. Every time I go out, when I see them and they're putting their work in, I'll see them like hit a pitch shot. Like Harvey say, you need to land that ball on a poker table, and so forth. That was always really cool. But it was just simple stuff. You watch them hit a pitch shot and they can't hit a pitch shot. You hit a ball 400 yards, a 250-yard drive, 150-yard iron shot. They're 10 yards away from so 30 feet from the flag, and it takes them 4 shots there versus 2 shots to get there. I'm not really good at math, but I know better. It's not going to work out for you.
That's exactly it. But
so you learn, and it's like, and so then I go, I'm not mad at my player at all. That's the least thing I'm worried about. I'm mad at myself. I'm like, so I haven't taught this player how to hit that shot, or that shot's not available and they need to bail out over here and make bogey. If they can get a bogey, this could be a triple bogey where they're at, because they're in jail. Let's get out of this thing one or two shots less than what is probably going to happen. And so when I watch, I'm watching and thinking, because I have a, like Nelly, we have a lot of experience. We've been around again. I've made so many mistakes. If I went to make the list of mistakes I've made as a player, we'd be here for another few weeks, 24/7. And so as you see that, you don't want your juniors to do that. That's my passion. Is I want to help them say, oh man, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize we haven't worked on pitching enough. We haven't worked on a buried lie in a bunker, or we haven't worked on X, whatever it may be. Maybe it's just as simple as just putting that we haven't worked on. We're not good enough there, and that's my fault. I've given you too much time on this one area and haven't balanced you out as a player. And it takes and you're right about the fun thing too, is you have to still make it, and sometimes I'm guilty of this a little bit, but I get so into what I'm trying to do, I take some of that fun part out of it. And I think that the older we get as teachers, we still got to keep some of that in there, because it's golf, you can't make it robot game.
Oh, it really is. It's like you said, we all as players, oh gosh, you're right. I mean, many mistakes along the ways, and hopefully we learn from most of them, but gosh, you're gonna go out there. I was fortunate to win, a lot as a junior and an amateur player, but I look back at it and go, gosh, you know what? I lost a lot more than I won, and it's when you walk off like that, it's disappointing, but you know what? You pick yourself back up and go back at it again, and yes, it's a grind. Many things in the golf swing, when we work on it, some things are a grind, and maybe sometime we share something very small that had a huge effect, a huge positive effect on somebody. Well, gosh, that's icing on the cake. But uh, nobody wants to struggle. But believe me, gosh, you're going to struggle. You're going to grind, but the reward, having stuck with it and stick with your instructor, believe me, it will come. Just stay the course, and just keep picking yourself back up, because it will happen.
Yeah, it's that roller coaster. I think that I've never met a player in my life, and I haven't met Tiger Woods either, but I would say, I think it's obvious to even see one of the greats, or Jack Nicklaus, or whatever, the greatest, whoever you want to consider. They had these roller coasters even in their careers, where it wasn't always just peaches and cream and just, flatline, just even keel. There's times where it was great, and there's times where you get beat up, and you just, like you said, that time when you get beat up, you just got to dust yourself off and stand back up, and sometimes take a break, and then get back on the horse and give it another shot and see what happens. That's my opinion.
Oh, you're right. I mean, it's just like you said, and I know as a coach, as a mentor, teacher, you have to wear kind of multiple hats, but that's what it's all about, and again, that's why I like, looking back at these podcasts and whatnot that you have put together. I mean, it's just, there's a common, within all these approaches, if you will, and whatnot, and how we share the information. But boy, it excites me. I mean, obviously, I don't play competitive golf anymore, but just watching and listening, man, you just want to just like jump in the car and, gosh, I want to go play, and you want to be around it, all the time, whether it's a player, from a player side of it, or trying to help somebody else play better golf.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That the reason why there was a golfer that emailed in, that it was last week, and he said, you have a lot of the champions guys, you got a lot of the older guys, and I was like, hey, when are you going to get the younger guys? Well, I don't know Brooks Koepka, and he hadn't been knocking my door down to Tiger's 1 year younger than me, so that doesn't count. But like and I don't, and it's not disrespect to him, but I don't know any of those guys really. I know Gary Woodland's a friend of mine, but they got other things to take care of besides do this. But what I love about our generation and up is that the experience when you get a player like yourself and a teacher and coach, and then you get a David, and you're getting a massive amount of wealth of knowledge that if they've played longer than all these guys, and yeah, maybe their bodies don't function like it did when it was 18 to 25. I get that. I'm right there, but same thing. But they have this wealth of knowledge how to play the game the right way too. It's like there's still a right and a wrong way to play the game, I believe. And I love talking to people that have experience, and that'll never go away. If we ever got somebody on here that was younger that wanted to jump in and fire away, hey, I'd love to hear what they have to say and what they're doing. But I'll tell you, my personal preference is learning from players that have a tremendous amount of knowledge, experience of, like you said, and I said as well, where I failed and made mistakes, and then I'd have to figure this thing all back out and then try to adjust and come back and maybe get one win in maybe 1 year, 2 years, or something like that, whether it be a small event, an amateur event, maybe it's a big amateur event. I know you, how many times did you win the Firecracker?
I was fortunate to win it 3 times.
Missed it. I'm sorry.
I was fortunate to win it 3 times.
That's what I thought. I thought it was 3 or 4. I wasn't sure. That's incredible. I mean, around here where we play in Texas, that's the one thing that I learned about Texas is how many great players there are. I mean, man, it's, you just don't want to just go grab your golf club to start just playing everybody if you're not from here. There's some really phenomenal golfers around here. That particular tournament, that many times, is very, very, very impressive with the caliber of players you're having to compete against the team.
Well, like I said, it was fun. There was a 4 or 5 year period in there where it just being in the right place, right time, I guess, and yeah, it was one of those things that just like today is the first time I've really kind of talked about it that much. It's like, well, yeah, you did some great things, whatnot. I feel like it's my duty continuing now to try to give back wherever I can give back and help. There's nothing more exciting to me than watching somebody, hit a good golf shot or play well, or send you a text or email indicating, hey, this is the first time I ever broke 80, that kind of thing. Golly, it brings back just as much excitement as winning a golf tournament, So yeah, it was great times, and my parents, if they were still here, they would tell you, thank goodness for the scholarship, because 7 years later they paid my brother's way through A&M and med school and whatnot. So I'm sure they would have figured it out maybe if you didn't have a scholarship. But hats off to those that are out there, whether it be Division I or II, it doesn't matter. If you've earned any kind of academic or sports scholarship, yeah, my hat's off to you. That's great, and continued success there. But we as instructors or mentors like to say that, or would like to think that we have a little bit to do with having somebody succeed, to that level.
So, what's your favorite like Harveyism?
Oh, I think probably the
Oh, here to hear you.
whoops, still there. I think the one of the favorite things, I guess, is just how simple, he would turn a conversation even into something very simplistic, even if it wasn't golf related. I had many conversations when I was in school, just sitting in a golf cart with him, and he would always leave you with a positive. And I think I may have mentioned it to you before, but I'm sure that anybody that had any contact with him would agree that when you walked away after a conversation with Harvey, especially if it's not necessarily golf related, you felt like you were walking 2 feet above the ground when you walked off, and you had no idea why that you felt that way.
Yeah, that's really cool. He just it's hard to explain to people, and I really think people like that are not from Austin really don't really maybe understand the effect he. I think Texas is where, I mean, the Texas, they get it, I believe that. But I think there's a lot of people who don't really understand, unless you've been to Austin, the effect he had on that city. If you go to Austin, Texas, and you've never played golf before, and you're an Austinite, and you've never played golf before, you know who Harvey Penick is.
Absolutely. Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
Went and he won, I believe, his second Masters. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nelly, here. I'm having a hard time hearing. But I think it was the second Masters that Crenshaw won. And, he was dedicated, that's where he broke down there on the 18th green, and he just let it out. He really wasn't playing great golf at that particular time, from what I recall. And it just, there's no telling what happened, but he won it. And then I don't know exactly. God, I can't believe I can't remember this, but it was like Harvey might have passed away that week before that, or it was after that. I don't remember which one it was. If you could explain it.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring back that timeline and whatnot, because I know he had passed, and
I think he passed that Monday, maybe.
Yeah, I think Tom and Ben had obviously attended the funeral, and I'm not so sure Ben was even going to 100%, commit to the event, because of it. And so, golly, yeah, I mean, it was so ironic that he would come, back to Augusta and play at that level, win the tournament. Uh, uh, gosh, that emotion, on the 18th was just,
There's never been one.
It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. For me, I haven't seen one quite like that one. Gary Player had one on 16 when he made that crazy run and ended up winning. is awesome. But the way that went down, I was a little boy at that time when he won. I wasn't living in Austin, obviously, but I obviously remember that very well. And you could just see it. Like, and when I first moved to Austin, I didn't know a lot of the traditions, and I had to learn, as we all do. And you just, like, every player or teacher that you talked about, they always would refer to that victory, but also just like how much Harvey meant to the community and the city and what he did for it. And man, it's very rare you go through life and you don't hear something bad about somebody. Like, you just wash it off, whatever.
Yeah.
Not one word. And I think if you walk into Austin, Texas, and you badmouth Harvey Penick,
Yeah.
you better have gas in your tank.
Well, yeah. I think it was in one of his books, actually. He mentioned something about judging people, how he was careful not to judge too hard on people, because I think he referenced, that God waits till the end, well, yeah, I mean, he had nothing but kind words, and you mentioned Barbara Hewitt. I always call her Lady Harvey, but she is exactly the same way. She is very kind-hearted. She, like I said, she's a legend of her own, but she would always give you the most encouraging, advice going forward. Again, knowing how complicated and frustrating the game can be at times.
Yeah, that's you see a lineage too. Like, again, I was able to teach under the Harvey Penick, under his body of work, and I'm grateful to the day. As long as I'm breathing, I'm grateful for that experience. What it did for me is simplifying the equation, making stuff that I was making too complex simpler. It could go on and on. But then if you look at, like, his his coaches, I would say players too. Most of them end up players / coaches. We have a lot of them in Austin, and those they seem to always, like you said. I use you as an example, but there's several of them that have this aura about them, and it seems like if I could be Harvey Penick, that's what it would feel like. I think he had so much impression on his players and coaches that it fed into how they live their lives, and probably the simplicity and just how kind, and it's not that can't go out and take the money on a golf course. It's just that they're kind, compassionate human beings, and it's consistent across the board, the ones I've been around.
Oh, absolutely. Exactly right. And I just like you, I cherished every moment that we had out there amongst with our group out there teaching, underneath Harvey's, instruction. And I think we got better. But like I said earlier, we also I know I got better and better in how I try to convey the information by listening to the rest of the staff, such as yourself and the others. Yeah, we knew we were supposed to try to keep it simple, but that's easy until you get up in front of somebody or in front of a group, and you have to convey the information, because many of those students were going to go back and they're going to check out in that little red book or some of the other books. Did he really say that? Is that really Harvey's teachings? And darn good and well they did that. And it felt so good, and I know you did too. Felt good about how you were conveying and sharing that information out on the practice tee, with those students.
Yeah, I used to go to lunch with it was I get them. There was twins, the Clement brothers, but was it Myron or Byron? I get it.
Yeah, Mark and Myron.
Myron?
Yes, with an M.
Yeah, we were working together, and I always loved going to lunch with Myron, because one, he taught in my opinion, he really taught it not as true as you could teach what Harvey, I believe, was one. And he was another one of those guys that was just, I don't know. All I can say is nice things about Myron. I met Mark as well. I didn't work around Mark as much. I believe he was a golf tech, and so forth. But both of them great guys, and again came from that Harvey lineage, and it just, I don't know, it just kind of felt like you were meeting Harvey for somebody that has it. So,
Well, and you're right. I mean, yeah, the Clements. There's many. Gosh, there were so many instructors there that. I mean, excellent. They brought to the table, excellent backgrounds and excellent teachers, and for everybody to kind of buy into the program and continue to learn. I guess we're always continuing to learn stuff in regard to teaching, but we as a unit, I mean, I thought it was just unbelievable because when somebody left, let's say a putting session and went over to an iron play session or how to hit the driver, didn't have to worry one bit about whoever was giving that presentation and teaching that particular part of the game was sticking to the red book and sharing the and not to mention we didn't talk about drills, but Harvey, gosh, they've left many drills that gosh, to this day are so effective, and I've heard even people talk about when you offer up drills and you describe drills, even the greatest players like Tiger. Tiger apparently prides himself in trying to perfect a drill when he's on the practice tee. So you think of somebody at that level is still using drills and trying to perfect drills. Gosh, all of these mentors and teachers of the past, they have left us, as you say, many tools, for us to assist our teaching, as we go through.
yeah, I screwed up one of his lines the other day, pretty much. I did not my little famous dyslexia movement. I said it backwards, which is kind of not sometimes, unfortunately. But he was talking about it was a Harveyism. I was trying to explain. I had the right intent.
Right.
About you should work by. I said the job instead of the hour, but he always said, when you're working on a movement, this is what I remember from the school. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I may get it wrong again. But he was saying, when you're working on whatever it is you may be working on, you should work on it by the hour and not like you should take your time.
Right.
Just take your time and get it right. I think I said, do it by the job. That means actually opposite. Kind of get done with it, go on. I had it backwards a little bit. But that was one of the lines I think Myron used to use all the time, but I just put it in reverse. Had the right intent.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. Yeah. I remember Myron and I were talking about that. If you try to make a practice swing last 1 minute, that's probably one of the most difficult things there is, especially when you get down close to the golf ball. Where you sense acceleration or what have you. You want to move quicker, and I challenge a lot of players to this day on the practice tee. I said, try to show me a 1 minute practice swing, and I have even a difficult time demonstrating it. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
But you learn a lot from it, because the swing goes by so fast. I guess the swing is what 1.2 seconds or whatever it is.
That's about right, I believe. Yeah.
It's just amazing to have anything to go back on as to why did I hit that shot so good, other than the obvious. And so, yeah, slowing things down sometime. You mentioned Myron. Myron was great about that. He would just really emphasize, a lot of feel and back to the footwork and getting those students to feel and sense what it's supposed to feel like, because during the real swing, it's just almost impossible to revert back as to what did I just do that was so good to produce that shot.
I loved a lot of the slow motion work. I came from a background that was, I would say, radically different than Mr. Penick. I came from Paul Berkeley's background, which is, I don't know, it was a little crazy, but it was all like really hardcore training, and it was a different. It had its purpose for sure. I was very fortunate to be around both of those legends in my mind. But the one thing that they both had in common was that they taught a lot of, it seemed like slow motion exercise, swing, like you said, you got 1.2 seconds maybe to swing a club, and most of that's backswing. You know what I mean? In a good world, you're taking your time, and you maybe that downswing is just a flash, And I love the slow motion exercises that Harvey had, and Myron was really took his time and did his students a great service by demonstrating slow motion, how to do it right, in my opinion.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, like I said, it wasn't Myron was the only one that I was around that was good. It was just, I always like Harvey always said, I believe you should, when you play on the tour, you should go to dinner if you can with the best putter on the tour. If there's some, is that right? He had a line where you can hang out with the best putter on the tour and have dinner with them at night. You better do that.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
I like that with Myron because I really felt like he was giving exactly like I believe that Harvey would want it done, and he was very I don't know how to say it. He just was. He's a genuine human being.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And,
no, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. And
he's a hell of a player, hell of a teacher.
right. Exactly. And I think that was just a big part of why we all wanted to see the Harvey Penick Golf Academy succeed and last as long as it did. Um, it obviously once Harvey passed, it was difficult to we had a lot of attendees come back, word of mouth attendees and so forth, but thank goodness that he left a lot of us some great information, and of course the books. If any of the students at least pick up the little red book, that's great. But it's really difficult. I'm sure that that was a challenge to take some of Harvey's writings. I remember seeing the little red book that he used to carry with him, and I remember glancing at it one time, and I couldn't even read it. He had written it in cursive, and it's like I couldn't even tell what he was talking about, or what he was reading there. But and then of course I believe it was Bud Shrake and some others, broke that down, and it ended up assisting in a big way to get these books out there so that we can still, just like Hogan's books and everybody else, we can still reach up there and reread some of that, and maybe hit the refresh button sometime, when we hit that frustration side.
That's right. You have, there's an old book out that Byron Nelson's Winning Golf that I still have. I still utilize today. That's as good as any. Those guys just knew, and they're playing with clubs that didn't perform like they perform now, and golf balls that didn't perform, but they could shoot about the same scores as they shoot now.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It really is.
Certainly knew that. I believe they had to be more precise back then, in my opinion. Not that they're not now. I'm not saying they don't want to.
Right.
Those back then, you definitely had to be right on the button because there wasn't a lot of room for masse in the ball, or the ball sliding up the face and off the face or whatever. The sweet spot was. I mean, they had a 5-iron the other day. It looked like a training aid from back in the old days. The ball was taller than the club.
Yeah, very small faces. Yep, exactly. Yeah.
It looked like one of those little small training aids where you got to hit the sweet spot. It was a real club. I think it was actually Byron Casper was telling me about that. We were joking about it. That was really cool. But anything else that you want to go on to about yourself? I know you obviously I've always utilized you or referenced you as the people I know as a great teacher, a great player, much respected by. When you walk into Austin, Texas, and people obviously, and I know you're not going to go into this, but I can. You hear your name, Doug Nelle, and if you play golf, you know that name, and it's somebody I would take lessons from you in a heartbeat. I would have my students take lessons from you in a heartbeat, because there's a wealth of knowledge that you have that not everybody can have. All like we were talking earlier, not everybody. You think you've got it all figured out, and I don't.
Well,
Not want to do something different. And,
no, yeah, you're right. It's it's like I said before, it's a great thing when you can feel like you connect with somebody and can help them and take them to the next level in their game, whether it be a higher handicapper or a low handicap player. It's all about their desires. If they want to be out there, boy, and I know you feel the same way. If they want to come out and get some help, they want to be there. Uh, I'll do everything I can to come out there and help them. The success, like you said, I'm obviously not an expert. I wish I was smart enough to write a book or something. Maybe that does that prove anything? I don't know. But the thing is, I would be the very first to tell you that, yeah, I've had students before that, uh, gosh, I felt like I just wasn't connecting. I gave it a shot a couple of times, and we had long discussions. And maybe it was just parts of their game. Maybe I really, really helped them maybe more with their short game than their mid and long game or whatever it was. Well, I would be the first one to, golly, you need to go. How about trying, to contact so and so, and maybe they can help you, from this point regarding your full swing, maybe. That would be an obvious thing, but I don't want to waste the player's time and obviously my own time if I don't feel like um, I'm connecting or being able to get to some of the sources of where their problems are. Now, as you would probably say too, as time has gone along, you see more, you learn more, you're able to trace things and come to the conclusion of where are they, what needs to be addressed, um, and take what they're already doing very well and make them better at it, without them feeling like they're doing a rebuild of some sort. Um, that's gotten a little bit easier over time. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's been a pleasure to take the experiences, I guess is the way I would call it, of teaching with others, such as yourself, uh, and reading some books and looking at video and putting some things together so that when you and I are on the practice tee, it is a little bit easier to step back and watch and analyze and give these players some techniques, maybe a couple of drills, and a very positive frame of mind, when they do take this to the golf course.
yeah, I think that's a great point. Sure. I know we always have, really coaches that care about their players. There is that, if a player can get better with another coach in putting or ball striking or whatever, and it's your player, and if your ego's so high, you can't let them try that. I think that was another thing we talked about. Harvey Penick. I was telling you a story. I believe it was Kiter. Chuck Cook was telling me, but it was like I think it was Kite who was telling me the story. But anyway, he said that it was this guy by the name of Costas was out there. Now we know Peter Costas or whatever. And he said, he's teaching swing playing, and he asked Mr. Penick, "Hey, would you mind if I see what he has to say?" And Mr. Penick says, "I don't know anything about swing playing. I can't say anything good or bad." And I think that's a really, from a teacher standpoint, it'd be really easy to go, "Oh, I don't see that. I don't see that guy. There's business involved, especially now. There's more business involved. It seems like more now, and you can kind of get into a little bit of ego stuff and money and all that junk. But if you come down to the senses and say, somebody comes out with something new, maybe it's not good, but what he did say was, try it, test it out, see what you think. If it makes you a little bit better, hey, you might want to go that direction. If you get worse, you might want to leave it in the shade.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's
I just
exactly.
brilliant because there's times where it'd be I have to use myself as a younger version of myself. Might look at that a little bit different. Think, oh yeah, maybe not do this, do that. No, you need to stay with me. Nah, you need to go where if you. I've had players that stay with me that they plateau out and they get stuck a little bit, and it's usually a decent stuff. At least they're playing pretty decent. But maybe they could play a little bit better, and they get a putting lesson from a very good Krista Karachi teaches there in Austin. I would suggest anybody go see Krista Karachi for putting lessons. He works with Wes. He's helped me. He's fantastic. He's as good as to me as I've seen. And it doesn't matter to anybody. I don't care if it's ball striking. Somebody can just edge my players, and if they don't come back, they don't come back. But that's not the goal. You got to let what they say, the bird fly away at some point too, as well.
Right.
Hold your hand all the time. They're going to be even.
Well, sure. Yeah. And I had Tom Kite said something to me one time I thought was kind of interesting. And the good players, better players would kind of relate to it maybe a little easier. But when we all started playing golf, we had desires to improve our game by a plural of strokes. I hope to be 5 shots better. I hope to be whatever. I hope to break 90 someday or whatever. And I had a casual. I was playing with Kite and his dad out at Great Hills one time, just a casual round. And he said something to me I thought was interesting. He said, "Well, I do hit a lot of golf balls. I do work on my short game a lot." And he goes, "I'm just trying to improve myself in reference to different areas of the game, like chipping or putting." He said, "I'm trying to get a half a shot better here and a half a shot better here." And I thought about that, and I thought, what do you mean half a shot? We're hitting one shot at a time,
Yeah.
And obviously, what he meant by that was on an annual average, if his stroke average was 70.8 or whatever it is, he was trying to improve a little bit here, a little bit there, and when the dust settles, maybe his annual stroke average would be a stroke or two better to 68 point something, instead of 70. And as you well know, that 1 or 2 strokes out there at that level can be millions and millions of dollars, to those guys, So when you hear something like that to say, well, I think I can help you, with your putting, and maybe you went from only 31 to 29 putts around or whatever it is. Hey, guess what? You made a major improvement in your game, even though you think of it as only being a couple of shots.
Eight shots in 4 days if you play for a living.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man, golly, that's a lot of shots.
Yeah.
And you're 100% right, and that's why I think it was. I always thought it was so clever about. Like I said, I know it's a lot about Harvey, but I wanted it to be today. I wanted it to be about you, but I know how your connection with Harvey and your respect for Harvey, and I can certainly assure you my respect for Harvey and what he's done.
Well, and for me, it's been a great, golf's been 99% of my life, and so it's been a blessing. I've enjoyed every minute of it, from a player's perspective, it was great. From a teaching side, it's still great. And probably to really put the icing over the whole thing is meeting such great people and great teachers, great mentors across the whole game, and thankfully with as I mentioned a while ago, with technology, anytime I want to see Matt, I just pull up one of the podcasts, and it honestly, it doesn't matter who you're teaching or what the subject matter is. I always get something out of it, and it's I would say the next best thing to being on the tee line there, teaching along with you.
I tell you what, thank you so much for saying that. It always means different levels when it's coming from different people. And there's one I would obviously, like I said earlier, I'd be the first one to call you up if I wanted to work in my game and try to get ready for an event. It would be one of the guys I would call, and I would just listen and learn and do what you said to do, whatever it is. And like Harvey would do sometimes, you might say, hey, you start off, you want to do golf striking, and they say, you might want to work on that putting. How's your chip? Whatever. It's so funny.
Exactly. Yeah. And that one of those, going back to Harvey one more time, maybe is and Myron and the rest of the staff, when it came to clipping the tee, and don't hesitate to put that ball on the tee. I still, I kind of laugh at it because we had many players and students that, they just said, well, why am I going to put it on the tee? Because I've got to learn to hit it off the ground, and we would try to explain in our nicest way. It's like, we understand that. We're just trying to make sure that, there's times where you kind of need to take the ball away from the equation and get these good swings underway and work on this new setup and work on your grip and just kind of gradually get that tee lowered to the ground, and believe me, you'll be fine. But I laugh because Myron, he might have been the best I've ever seen in demonstrating the clip the tee drill that Harvey had left us.
He had it mastered because he could literally clip the tee. It was truly cool.
Yeah.
Because I watched him. Like I said, I was always training with him and always wanted to be around him because I knew how much he believed in the philosophy, and it was genuine. And he was a major help in helping me develop as a teacher and a coach. And I still use. There's not anything I picked at the track game. There was so many things I still use to this day, and wish I need more. But
absolutely.
Great to be around all you guys. So cool.
It's been a fun ride, that's for sure.
What's that?
And it's been a fun ride, and continued success as you go forward. And I'm, like I said, I'm always kind of dialing in there and kind of watching and really enjoying every moment of watching your passion, ongoing passion, for the game, and it's you're definitely one of a kind, that's for sure.
Thank you so much, Nellie. It's been a pleasure. I want to have you on again. Maybe, I don't know what your schedule is in a couple of weeks. Probably like everybody's. Not much going on right now, but
Sure.
I'd love to have you on again. Talk more.
Absolutely. I'd love to join you anytime and support you any way we can.
Yeah, and I'd love to have you maybe live at the range when we open back up this summer. We get open in Wood Dancing around June. I know some of the courses are back open in Austin now. So
Right.
it'd be nice one day once we kind of clear it out and everything to visit and go live together and make some shots and stuff.
I'd love to. Just let me know when.
Okay, man. Thank you so much, Nelly, for your time. We appreciate it and your service to the game. It's not just that. You're just a great human being. We all know that. The guys that know you know that. And the people that are on here that don't know you now know that. So,
there you go. Well, thank you again for the invite. We look forward to doing it some more.
absolutely, Nelly. Thank you, bud. The original Nelly.
All right.